Hello, everyone. Such a pleasure to see so many people on this call. Just a quick note that we'll be starting in a minute or two as we see participants still joining. We want to give everybody a chance to see the full presentation. So we'll begin in just a moment.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for good morning, afternoon, and good night to some of you. Thank you for being here. So this meeting will be recorded and shared with you in the webpage. During the course of the presentation, please type in the chat all the any questions that you could have, and we'll try to answer them.
All right, well, welcome everyone. We're so pleased to see you all here. Why don't we go ahead and get started? We are going to be recording, as Patricia mentioned. So let's go ahead and start the recording, and then we can start with this presentation. Patricia, could you advance to the first slide? All right, well, it's such a pleasure to be here today. My name is Robin McGuckin, and I will be walking you through the first 2 points of the agenda, and then I'll turn over to my associate Patricia Mijares, who is our head of partnerships for P4G. So going to the next slide. We wanted to provide you an overview of P4G. P4G was started in 2018, and we went through an initial 5-year period, and now we are going into phase 2. So if you go to the next slide, there's a brief recap of what P4G is about. As we head into phase 2, we continue to look to contribute to green and inclusive growth by helping businesses in low and middle income countries to become investment ready. And we want those businesses to be supporting climate transitions, specifically in the sectors of food and agriculture, water resilience, and the transition to clean energy systems. All of our partnerships need to address climate mitigation or adaptation and include poverty reduction and gender equity goals in the related subsectors that you see here in the bulleted list. You can also see our countries of implementation. P4G is funded by Denmark, the Netherlands, and the Republic of South Korea. And we implement our partnerships in the countries shown on the map here: Colombia, South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Indonesia, and Vietnam. Moving to the next slide. You can see here some of our results from phase 1. We had 75 partnerships, and learned a lot. So all of you who have been our partnerships through phase one, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure being on this journey with you and seeing so many of you become successful in your own businesses. P4G businesses have realized or are on track to realize 10 million metric tons of CO2 emissions avoided, and to contribute to 1.6 million individuals who are being lifted from poverty through these solutions. Very importantly, what P4G seeks to do is to get the core climate business at the heart of our partnerships investment ready so that they can realize the financial sustainability needed to sustain these solutions over time, to sustain these climate services and essential services over time. So one of our proudest results is that we've helped our partnerships to leverage over $98 million of investment. As we head into phase two, we spent a considerable amount of time thinking about and learning from our prior partnerships. And we realized the main barrier we can help to overcome is to increase the flow of climate finance to early stage businesses in our countries of implementation, where the growth of those businesses has been and continues to be constrained by low levels of investment readiness, alongside high risk perceptions of the essentially market enabling systems in low and middle income countries. That is reinforced by the fact that financial institutions providing climate finance often, because of the high risks, either do not invest in those economies or they're only investing in larger ticket sizes that are higher than what early stage businesses need. So we're trying to help address that and crowd into funding in that missing middle, which is often really the valley of death, often defined for climate tech, clean tech businesses that are early stage. So as such, in phase two, our grants and technical assistance will be focused on bringing that core climate business to investment readiness in phase two, so that they can get from that seed stage of initial funding to the Series A investment. To do that, we have three main areas of work. One is directly providing grants and technical assistance to those climate businesses as part of a larger partnership. The second is improving the enabling systems in country for those climate businesses to grow and receive investment. And third, very importantly, we are a learning institution, and we will continue to learn, to mobilize our learnings, and to help the climate community overall to continue to grow in this manner. Going to the next slide. How we work. P4G is a partnership of partnerships. We recognize that it takes a very strong network to succeed in early stage new climate businesses. And as such, you can see three key pillars of our support network here for our partnerships and for our countries. In each of our countries, we have, and you can see this on the far left in yellow, our national platforms. Our national platforms are comprised of both our donor country national platforms in our funder countries, and then also our implementing country national platforms. And in each of those platforms, we have representatives from focal ministries involved in climate and investment, along with business associations, trade ministries, etc., to provide that network both in country, where the challenges must be addressed, as well as in our funding countries, which can serve as important off-takers or value providers for our climate businesses. In the middle there, you see the P4G Hub Secretariat. That's us. And so importantly, we have national platform liaisons in each of our implementing countries that work with our national platforms and our partnerships to help address key barriers that the partnerships face in accelerating their business and in having those early business proofs that can be so important for attracting investors. We also in the Secretariat have our partnership and investment managers who work directly with our partnerships, providing technical assistance, networking, etc., to help them become investment ready. And then, of course, the foundation of the Hub Secretariat is our knowledge mobilization and learning. Moving to the far right, our partnerships, along with our national platforms, our partnerships are the lifeblood of P4G. Our partnerships are comprised of two lead entities, the NGO administrative partner, who is typically in country working with target communities who may be the intended customers or market, or working in that climate ecosystem. Our NGO administrative partners may also be accelerators or other NGOs that are providing that key business technical assistance, that key learning and knowledge needed that accelerators and incubators often provide to businesses to help them really launch and accelerate. And then, of course, the other core partner is that early stage climate business that we want to see succeed and go from seed stage investment to that Series A commercial investment that will allow them to enter a growth phase. All of our partners, all of our partnerships typically have, in addition to those two core partners, they often have additional partners needed to strengthen and bolster the business case. Going to the next slide. We do have requirements, which we will walk through in great detail here. Our early stage climate businesses must be in the seed or early post-seed stage of their commercial growth phase with a proven technology and essentially be beyond the concept stage and on that journey to raising capital, where they're generating the business proofs and have those early customers that are testing the product or service. They must be registered or intend to be registered in the P4G country of implementation. They must have a clear business plan and financial pro forma, along with an executive team that has relevant expertise. We really want to see partnerships that exist because they are looking to help that climate business realize a financial close, rather than seeing NGOs and others come together expressly for the purpose of responding to P4G's call for partnerships. This call is really meant for pre-existing businesses that are on that path and looking for support to help get them to Series A. We do want our partners to be innovative and additional. We are not looking to provide finance in areas where there's already a lot of climate finance moving in, but rather in some of those innovative additional ideas, often around climate tech, often around IoT, AI, API, etc. And also, because these are early stage businesses, they will all be small to micro enterprises looking to enter into that stage of growth that could take them to be a larger enterprise. Next slide, please. The NGO lead administrative partner. Now, this can be quite flexible based on the specific needs of that climate business that is the core of the partnership. Minimally, we want our NGOs to be registered in country or partnered with an NGO who is registered in country and has relevant technical expertise. The NGO lead administrative partner will be the primary recipient of grant funding, with the commercial partner or that climate business as a subrecipient, along with all other budgeted partners. The types of roles we have seen NGOs undertake quite successfully alongside our climate businesses are listed on the second part of this slide, and they include roles such as the business capacity building that is often provided by accelerators and incubators, the enabling systems, the enabling market system support for that business partner's investment readiness work. And that can be looking at anything from tariffs and permitting to regulatory interpretations that might allow the business to operate. Often this becomes unexpected regulatory barriers that may come up during the partnership's implementation, where the NGO can help work alongside to provide white papers, analysis, etc., to help government understand how to how to address and categorize new climate businesses. Another really important role for our NGOs is on the monitoring and evaluation side, particularly when it comes to the environmental and social impacts that are happening both during the implementation period, but very important, those benefits that should be unlocked during the growth stage of the business climate businesses development. Often we see our NGOs have really solid in-country relationships, as I mentioned previously, particularly with the communities in which that climate business may be operating, and also solid networks with government and the private sector. And then finally, we have seen our NGOs be very successful at helping the climate business to produce a knowledge product, which all of our partnerships must do. That knowledge product should reflect the journey and the learnings of the partnership so that others can learn and benefit from what each of you are experiencing. Going to the next slide. As I mentioned, every partnership can have additional partners. Some of these may be funded, some of these may be non-funded, many may be providing cost share. And the specific details are laid out in the guidelines on our website, but here you can see some of the additional partners such as NGOs, other commercial partners, large corporate partners we have seen typically be most successful as prospective suppliers or off-takers of the climate tech, the climate business, and government and associations as needed for stakeholder engagement and the enabling environment. Going to the next slide. This slide presents a snapshot of the partnership journey to investment readiness with P4G, with each one of these boxes essentially being a key service that we provide and want to deliver alongside yourselves to improve your learnings and to improve your chances of investment readiness. So you see here, one of the first things is a thorough due diligence and gap analysis, because our climate businesses need to be ready to pass the very rigorous due diligence involved in Series A investment. Second area is working with you on the enabling market systems, or those market systems needed for the business to succeed. A third area is on those business case proofs and the learnings from them, which then feeds nicely into the learning and knowledge mobilization, where P4G is a key partner working alongside you to bring greater recognition, prominence to your business concept, position you as a thought leader, both in social media and at a variety of major conferences and events such as COP, Davos, etc. We also provide acceleration and matchmaking, where we will set up sessions for matchmaking in country specific to our climate businesses needs, as well as initial, then moving to the next box, initial pitch sessions, early pitch sessions for practice, and then finally very specific pitches and getting into closed door investor sessions. And so this is a snapshot of what it means to be a P4G partnership and the key technical assistance and the journey that you will be on with us if you are awarded a P4G partnership. And then going to the next slide, this is where I hand over to my colleague, Patricia Mejeres, who will walk you through the specific requirements of the call for partnerships. Patricia, over to you. And let me just say, please remember to type in any questions that you have. And of course, we'll also have a Q&A session at the end. But as you think of questions as we're going along, please type them into the chat. Over to you.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Robin. Yes, the question needs to be typed in the Q&A chat box that is there in the Zoom link. Okay, so the application and selection process has 9 different stages. So first we need to understand that your partnership is in this readiness stage, as Robin already mentioned. This is important. For this is important that you can consult your national platform Liaison. Also, you can see it in the webpage and in the guidelines. There is also a link to to this specific web page where you can see the different names and contact details of these national platform license and the investment manager of your region. Once that you know that you are in this stage of readiness, you need to submit a concept note that is using the template that is also in the web page and the different templates that are required. And we will run in the stage number 3, the eligibility screening. What we are doing here is comparing with the 10 eligible criteria that I will talk later, if your proposal is eligible or not. Once that we run this screening, we go to the stage number 4, that is the short list. So how we get this short list is that we start with the scoring of your proposal according to the specific evaluation criteria that you will see also in the guidelines and the specific weight that has each criteria. Once that we have this short list of those proposals that are eligible and also achieve a specific score of at least minimum 7 that you can see it in your guidelines, so we'll invite you to submit the full proposal in the stage number 5, where you will require to submit additional information that we'll describe later. And you will have around 4 weeks to do that. And once that you submit the information for those that were successful submitting, you will be invited to pitch in the stage number 6 and will be rescored your evaluation. Once that you already have the pitch and the evaluation was provided, we'll take the funding decision. The decision is taken by the Independent Grants Committee. The Independent Grants Committee is composed by the external experts of each sector, and they are the ones that will take this final decision of who will be the selected and also the specific amount that will be awarded. Once that we have this selection, you will be informed. In any of these stages, it's important to mention that if you are rejected, you will be informed and also invited to reply and as soon as you are ready. And once that we already have this decision, we'll inform you for those that were successful and we'll start the contract negotiations. In this contract negotiation is to define the specific terms of that and that you already will sign and agree for a start implementation of your project. We'll finalize the signatures in the number 9, and we will make publish the announcement of you as selected and successful partnership to be with P4G. It's important also to mention that all the application must be submitted in English, is mandatory, and also to have this contact with your national platform license, your national platforms to understand if you are eligible and suitable for P4G. Which are the 10 eligibility criteria that is the key base for the process. So our 10 eligible criteria, the first one is the partnership composition. Something important is the partnership that already explained the 2 lead partners, Robin, needs to be formed since the beginning. So that needs to compose an early stage climate business with the specific characteristics that has, and we already explained, and the NGO administrative partner. Additional partners also can be part of this composition, and it's ideally that since the eligibility criteria and you submit a proposal, we can reflect who are those additional partners. In the criteria number 2, that we are talking about the experience and track record, we are assessing that among the partners in general, you have the specific skills and expertise that are related with investment, with policy and regulatory, with sectoral experience, and with the management of the grant. This is only for the administrative partner, but you can demonstrate that you have this experience and track record during the process. So it can be between different staffs or the staff members, and also between 1 or 2 partners. That is what is the key part of why you have an additional partner, or who is your lead lead partner for the partnership. The sector and countries. The sector, the number 3, it's important that the countries are only those that are the P4G ODA eligible partners that was mentioning since the first slide. And the partnership can be implemented in another country as additional, yes, but the P4G resources is only applicable for those ODA P4G countries. The sectors are the climate smart agriculture, food loss and waste, water resilience, zero emission mobility, and renewable energy. Your project and your business idea needs to be directly impact those sectors. Can be one or more, but needs to be only for those. The investability, the number 4, is that we are looking, also already explained, that your business model in the stage that needs to be in the seed or post-seed finance stage with a very defined path. So that is a process and a specific assessment that it was key for and mandatory to have. The enable and market environment, the number 5, is this understanding. We need to show evidence that the understanding of your specific policy regulatory of the country of implementation and also the sector that you will implement, that you are running the business model. What we are talking about, the number 6, the additionality, is that your business solution is improving what is already existing in the market and relevant to the specific country when you want to operate. The number 7, the impact, is showing the specific indicators that you have for this climate reduction or adaptation, the economic growth, the poverty reduction, gender and development impact. We are talking about the specific indicators of that you will see in the specific templates that we are expecting for your partnership. The activities and budget that we'll explain also with more detail in the next slide is that we require, and you will see also that in the guidelines, will require a specific, like mandatory, like allocation of your budget in specific items that can be related with the curve change and align the mandatory activities. So is that what we are expecting to see in your budget is that the different activities that you want to use our resources and also the cost share is understanding or will make you like to have this business model like investment ready. The number 9, that is responsible business conduct, will have a specific list of the P4G exclusion list that since the moment of the application, you need to assign that you are not included in this list. To know what is included in this, you can see it in the guidelines, and also demonstrate that you have an ESG plan. If you don't have it, how you will include it in the time. And the due diligence is regarding specific questions, a kind of questionnaire that we have in the business in the concept note, and also the ability to demonstrate that the 2 lead institutions we are talking about, the early stage climate business and the NGO administrative partner, has the ability to make organizational due diligence. This is related not only with the initial questionnaire, also you will see in that questionnaire that you will require to show in different stages as you advance the specific documentation. What we are talking about the evaluation criteria and weightage. So I am talking about when we run the eligibility screening in the first stage of the evaluation. We start, so for those partnerships that are eligible, we will run this assessment and scoring your specific proposal. This is composed by 4 criteria. That is, the first is how you demonstrate to be financial investable. So we are talking about your commercially and your financial feasibility, and is demonstrating this stage that is required. And the understanding of the market, your competitors, that your project is feasible in the country where you want to implement. The ability to deliver, that is the number 2, is this capacity that has the different members of the partnership to deliver the business model that you want to pursue in the specific country. The impact plan and scale are the specific indicators and the theory of change that you want to demonstrate and achieve during the implementation of the project and also after the implementation of the project. And the legal and regulatory part is regarding the policy understanding of the specific country where you want to implement. It's also important that you can be in more than one P4G ODA countries to implement your project. The criteria is scored between 0 and 10. You can see the details for this evaluation criteria and also how is the scale in the guidelines. And only those applications that are graded with 7, as I already mentioned, will be passed from the shortlisted to invited to present the full proposal and invited to pitch. This is a key decision date that you need to be considered for this round that is open. Now, well, the application is open. The September 8th is the first deadline for the applications to be considered. Why we have this deadline is because we have a specific decision that if you can see in the guidelines, for this year, we only have one selection, and for the following years, in 2025, we will have 2 decisions per year. So it's important to invite you and encourage that your application is as soon as you feel ready for running these 10 eligible criteria. And yet, once that you are ready, don't wait until the last minute to apply. It's important that as soon as you feel ready, you apply, and we can start to run your screening. So for those that applied by the latest by September 8th, we'll have the shortlist applicants that will be invited to submit this full proposal in October 1st. And you will have 1 month to submit the full proposal. I will explain you which is the kind of documents that you will present in this stage. In November, between the first 2 weeks of November, you will be invited to pitch for those shortlisted partnerships. And in November, we'll run the different rescoring after we have your full proposal, and it's expected that in the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks of December, we'll have the decision of the Independent Grants Committee. So before Christmas, you will have the decision of who will get the selection and start the negotiation. Between March and April, it's expected to have this public announcement. And this is because when it's running the negotiation, and something also important is that you can start your process since the first of the year. That needs to be considered in the budget, that you start in January. Which are the required materials for this stage? So now that we are in the concept note that we're expecting to receive your proposal, that is the key part, you need to go to the webpage of P4G. In the call for partnership, you will find the concept note specific link. Before to go to the link, it's important that you can see already the link, but also use the template that is already in the web page. And this template, that is the online concept note, also will request you to submit additional documentation attachments. These attachments are a commitment letter. This commitment letter is a letter that is saying that you will submit this application, the draft partnership of the charter, where we want to see which are your lead business partner and also the administrative partner, and if you have an additional partners that can be part of this proposal. The full business plan, the sum of all the 5-year financial model. This is as described, it needs to be in Excel. So it's important that also you see the specific the format that we require for any of these documents, the pitch deck and the budget summary. For this budget summary, also the specific template is already in the web page. It's the one that you need to use. Once that you submit the concept note before the September 8th, we'll run the eligibility, the shortlist, and then the information that you will require for the full proposal is, for those that are invited, is the detailed work plan and budget. You also can see it, the template already in the webpage, the actuary change and result framework, the final charter, I am meaning of this partnership charter that needs to be signed, and the due diligence documents. Which are the due diligence documents? You can also already see it in the guidelines, and is part of the questionnaire that you will see in the concept note. and any additional documentation and is as needed and will be informed. So for those shortlisted applicants, you will pitch your proposal. It will be a virtual pitch and with a Q&A session open, and also the national, not only the P4G Hub will be invited, also the national platform of your country. Once that you are selected, what is the documentation that we'll need for the contract negotiation is the final work plan and budget for any final adjustment after the pitch, and also the independent grants committee that will make any adjustment, and the final due diligence and the contract. So something important that you need to consider for this budget and work plan requirements that is very explicit in the guidelines, but it's important for you to read, is that will require the 30% of the cost share. So that is the money that you as partnership needs to contribute for this. And there are specific mandatories that is different for the previous goals that we have that you need to have in your budget and line items. One is related with the enable system work. You will have a specific line there that you need to fill, and is related with policy and regulatory. The knowledge product, we are expecting a case study, also to specify when we are requiring that. The ESG, only if it's required. We know that maybe some of you already have some documentation that is already there, or if it's required for the stage of your project. The activities procured and funded by P4G that you will not see there, but is already included, and you will see it in your final the subgrant or the contract that you will sign, is an investor due diligence and gap assessment and the audit. When we are talking with this investment due diligence, well, the first thing is that P4G will pay for that as part of your award. And the investor due diligence and gap assessment is a consultancy that will run since the beginning for an assessment that will do, is the first activity that will run once that you are awarded, to understand the specific stage and the requirements that has your business model. This is one of the activities that we saw it like that will strengthen your business model since implementation until the end of your project. And also is mandatory to run an audit that will be until the end of the project. So you will see all the details in the subgrant. Which is the support that we provide? We provide non-returnable grants for up to 350,000 on average. The range is between 100 and 500, but the expected average is 350. This is also a final decision, as I already mentioned, of the Independent Grants Committee. But it's not only the resources that we are providing. The most important value added that is given P4G is this technical assistance and the knowledge mobilization. So as part of the technical assistance is this investment due diligence assessment and gap analysis that I was explaining you, that is to understand this and how we can contribute to accelerate your current business model. The policy and regulatory engagement with the national platforms will work like hand to hand with these national platforms of each of your country. Different business and matchmaking sessions that will be holding, the acceleration and pitch sessions in different, not only at national level, also you will be invited at different global events where you can participate virtually or in person, and the introduction to specific impact investors. So which is our main interest, that you become investable ready. The knowledge mobilization, this is part of share the lessons learned. We want to replicate the business model that you are like a success that is at national, or also scale your business idea. This international exposure in different events globally and nationally, and the media that will publish in communication with the WRI. Now, Robin, you want to explain a kind of different examples of previous P4G projects?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Patricia, for walking us through those details. And let me remind everybody to please read through the guidelines and also to please reach out to the National Platform Liaison, the P4G National Platform Liaison in your P4G country of implementation. That National Platform Liaison can be an important guide for you as you go through the process and also help you understand if you meet the requirements that we are laying out in this document. Examples of P4G partnerships. So we have here 3 great partnerships. Africa Green Co. is a project that is addressing grid level accessibility and availability of renewable energy power. As we all know, the South Africa Power Pool and the SADC region in general has an undersupply of renewable energy that is energy. And that's often due to the creditworthiness and financial conditions of the national utilities. So Africa Green Co., the partnership on the left here, they have introduced a creditworthy intermediary as a buyer and seller of power on the South Africa Power Pool. So they are formed as a public-private partnership that has a capital base that allows them to sign power purchase agreements in Zambia and now in South Africa. They have raised well over 50 million to develop a portfolio of renewables, and they are actively expanding into other countries in the SADC region and on the South Africa Power Pool. They currently have more than 110 megawatts of power in development. The impact as a result is a reduction in CO2 emissions based on avoidance, and very importantly, improve liquidity and supply of renewables on the South Africa Power Pool to improve access to electricity throughout Southern Africa. Their enabling market systems work was essentially doing analysis and considerable outreach and technical assistance with the power utilities in the relevant countries to understand the implications of opening up their licenses for intermediary off-takers in starting in Zambia and now working throughout SADC, so that they can see the kind of benefits that can happen with more open wheeling of power on the grid. The second partnership, Smallholder Solar Pump Alliance. So we go from Africa Green Co., which is working at a grid level, to a partnership that is working off-grid and working very much with smallholder farmers who need, as part of climate adaptation, better, more reliable access to irrigation water. And so this partnership looked to improve farmer access to climate smart irrigation in terms of solar pumps, and worked not only on getting solar pumps in, but also on a PAYGO system, which was a first of its kind for many of these farmers working in the nascent Ethiopia marketplace, where PAYGO has not been, but it is increasingly now, but has not been as prevalent. The result was mobilizing 1.5 million for a local solar distributor manufacturing site. They're on the outskirts of Addis, and thus far they have distributed over 600 solar pumps with associated carbon dioxide emissions reductions, and very importantly, improved resilience of those farmers to continue to produce their crops despite changes in irrigation availability, solar radiation, etc. The enabling market system was really looking at opening up the PAYGO market to more solar distributors, more solar pumps, and advancing the overall national government's solar pump priorities and understanding of what can happen, how this works effectively in these communities, and their level of comfort with then expanding that model. And then the final partnership that I'll mention here is Transforming Africa's Bamboo. This partnership is ongoing, and so they are on that path to a Series A financial close, but have not reached it yet. This is looking at the large-scale production of building materials from sustainably produced bamboo in Africa. Africa grows a lot of bamboo, but has not fully realized the market value that bamboo can provide. So we're working with them on investment readiness, providing investment guidance, addressing bankability challenges, looking at additional revenue streams through carbon feasibility, and also then, of course, looking at their impact measuring tools, because all of those Series A investors are impact investors. So they're looking for that social and environmental benefit and the proofs therein. The impact is, as shown, the seed capital has already resulted in a number of jobs being generated on farmed bamboo sites. And the enabling market system is really understanding how national bamboo policies can facilitate market entry and growth of the sustainable building product in Africa. So I hope that gives you a good picture of what some of our partnerships have done. And I think with this, we can now turn to questions and answers. And I will say we've had a lot of questions coming in, which is great. I know we're trying to address many of them in this chat. And so we can now turn to some verbal questions that Patricia and Hallie will help to moderate. And any questions that we're not able to get to in this session, we will try to post answers to online as well. And let me, before we get to the questions, let me also encourage everyone, each of you should reach out to the National Platform Liaison in your implementing country. You can find their contact information on our website. And even if it's an email introduction and a half-hour conversation or a 15-minute conversation, that would be ideal, so that you can really test ahead of putting in all the effort to the application. Test with our National Platform Liaison if your idea meets all of the requirements of P4G. So with that, we can go over to questions. Okay, so one of the questions we had come in was about the missing middle and what is the missing middle. And this is a very good question. It is something that we didn't include a graphic in this presentation, but we could maybe do a follow-up session or additional sessions where we're able to talk more about this. But essentially, in every new technology endeavor and every new business endeavor, there is a building period where the climate business or that new business requires some investment in order to have the time and develop the business model, and then begin getting those early adopters and testing out that product or service that is what the business is providing. And during that early stage, that funding typically comes very early. It comes from friends and family. It comes from grants. It comes from angel investors. It comes from other forms of early seed investment that enable the business to start testing their product. During this period, the business is not earning revenues, or they're earning very little revenues. And so this is a pre-revenue period of building that then goes into early revenues that serve as proofs of the marketplace. And during that phase, the business is typically going into debt because they're not earning enough money. And when I say debt, it's typically in the form of equity, but they are not yet earning the revenues. Then once they start earning revenue, once they get to that post-revenue stage, they start earning revenues and they start paying back or earning revenues so that they reach that break-even point in an imaginary chart here. And then they will go and their revenue will grow. And so the idea is to get our partnerships through that period to break even. And right before break even is where Series A investment typically comes in, because those investors are seeing those early market proofs. But what we face in many developing countries is that there are not as many there's not the capital base. There's not as many friends and family that have disposable income or the disposable income needed. Often angel investors are looking for a much higher rate of return in our partner countries. And that drive for a higher rate of return means they're looking at businesses that are more import-export oriented rather than the lower financial but steady financial return seen in businesses that are also providing environmental and social benefits. So that is that missing middle, that is that gap from that initial start to realizing the Series A investment that and reaching that break-even point for these businesses so that they can secure the Series A funding and enter into a growth stage. So why don't we go ahead and open up and people can start raising their hands and asking questions. All right, I see a hand raised. Simon, could you just briefly introduce yourself? One sentence.
Sure. Simon Holland. I run a startup called Barefoot Lightning, and we work on animal health and nutrition. There are some large climate impacts possible through that. We currently work in Tanzania, in India, and in a few other countries. And some of the countries that are eligible are countries that we have in our midterm plans. So I just wonder, is the focus really on finding locally based businesses only, or is there also the openness to businesses from outside that are investing in that country also being a part of the program? Because no point us wasting your time or vice versa, right?
Exactly. Yeah, excellent question. So we are very specific to our partner countries. So we do want to see implementation in our partner countries. It's fine if activities are being implemented elsewhere, as long as they're funded by cost share or other budget. The requirement for in-country, it is perfectly fine for a company to be registered elsewhere or headquartered elsewhere and seeking to start operations in one of our partner countries. And as long as that is the intention, then that is fine. I think, does that get at your question, Simon?
Yeah. I think I'm 99% convinced that works for us. But if the investment then came into the company, it would probably go into the headquarters company, which then wouldn't be based in the area where you're doing the operations, if you get the point there, because the investors are going to want that apex ownership, if you like.
Yeah,
that's not an issue.
That should be fine as long as the activities essentially are being implemented in that country as far as the market testing and market proofs.
Sure, brilliant. Thanks so much, Robin. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent question. And then maybe some of you who have typed in a question that we haven't been able to get to, if you want to raise your hand, we'd be happy to address those questions. We are trying to get to those questions in the chat as they come in, but aren't able to keep up with all the great questions. So Lori, over to you, please.
Hi, good job pronouncing it too. A lot of people get that wrong. Anyway, thank you for choosing me. I'm with Greenstand. We're a nonprofit that does monitoring, reporting, and evaluations around the globe. My question has to do with a project that we would consider submitting in Kenya, but I want to clarify whether planting trees for carbon sequestration reasons could count as climate smart agriculture.
What we've seen, so it would come down to maybe more specifics. So we do have partnerships related to agroforestry, where, for example, we have partnerships looking at sustainable coffee production, where the land management processes involve growing of different kinds of trees. Sometimes those are fruit producing or producing trees, and sometimes those are non-producing but shade providing, biodiversity providing, carbon sequestering trees. So we do want to see sort of that co-benefit in one of our areas of food, ag, energy, and water. So as long as there's that co-benefit, then I think it could be considered.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, Carolina. Yeah, Caroline, do you want to introduce yourself and ask your question? It looks like you're on mute. Carolina, can you unmute yourself? There we go. Okay, Carolina, we still can't hear you. All right, maybe we'll go on to the next person and then come back to Carolina. Giang Tran, would you like to introduce yourself briefly and ask your question?
Yeah, good evening. I'm Giang from one UN agency. So I have one question. Is UN agency eligible for this partnership?
So, yeah, thank you for the question. UN agencies are definitely eligible as partnership members, but unfunded partnership members. And the rationale there is that P4G is relatively small and highly competitive. So we really, from our multilateral partners, want to see co-funding, co-financing, even if that's technical assistance and services provided.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And definitely want to collaborate with you and other UN agencies because I know you've got a lot of good ideas coming through. Yeah, so Andres, go ahead.
Hi, Robin and Patricia. Thank you so much for this time. I have a brief question, and it's I founded a company called VI Community, and my question was on whether startups focusing on sustainable mobility could apply under the zero emissions mobility. For example, what we do is that we bring safe mobility for low-income people through carpooling. We're not specifically like no emissions, but we reduce through carpooling. So I wanted to know if I could still apply.
Yeah, that sustainable mobility is definitely eligible. That's why it's sort of broadly titled zero emissions mobility, because that's what we're looking for: zero emissions, lowering emissions. The real question would be, the financial sustainability of the model and the business plan and financial performance for the growth of the business. So it sounds interesting, and I would encourage you to reach out to the P4G National Platform Liaison for your country of implementation, and just have a brief chat.
Perfect, Robin. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Yes, Fitrion, over to you, please.
Hi, Robin, Patricia. I hope you can hear me. My name is Fitrian. I'm from ADM Capital, a financial institution based in Asia, covering different countries, including Indonesia and Vietnam. Part of our pipeline in which we would like to invest for this kind of climate smart agriculture and so on, we found companies, quite investable companies, but challenges for them is to find good NGO partners, and we cannot finance the NGOs, but we can finance the company. Are these NGOs to some extent eligible if they are like applying to this type of opportunity, Robin and Patricia, because then they can help the companies to increase and strengthen the impacts, including climate, livelihood, and environment. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Fitran. We do want to see that NGO partner bring in that kind of skill set. And as shown on one of the earlier slides on the different potential roles for NGOs that we have found to be beneficial to early stage startups, there's a diversity of roles there. We do ask that the agreement with the NGO to form a partnership is made prior to application, because that is one of our eligibility criteria. So if we see a business apply without the NGO, we'll have to essentially reject that application and say, kindly please come back to us when you do have an NGO partner that you think complements your climate business. Our national platform liaisons and national platforms can help with that if that would be desirable. And I think in all of our implementing countries, there are great NGOs out there working on impacts and with these communities and ecosystems. I hope that answers your question, Fitriana.
Thank you. Clear. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yes, Emilio, would you like to go next?
Sure, thank you very much. My name is Emilio Huertas. I'm Ground Up Investment Director in Latin America, branch of Chorus International, ally of Lutheran World Relief. We are thinking about applying to this opportunity with Biodiversal. Biodiversal is a company working in Colombia with us for a long time. So I do have two questions. One is about the indirect cost of the subvention of the grant, if you have a policy on that or so. And the second one is about intellectual property. It is related to, as an example, Biodiversal is working with biofertilizers, and they do have lots of investment on the formulas of the biofertilizers or the process or so. And we assume that we will need to share information with you during the process. If it's the case, how do you protect those rights or so? And the third one is just a very small thing. Can we get in touch with Patricia to be better informed about the process during that, or you close the door of the communication directly? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so we do offer an NDA, of course, during the final phases, once we get to the final proposal phases, and we will hold that information confidential. So we do protect your intellectual property in that way. We do have some requirements because our funding is public money regarding what our money can be spent on related to intellectual property. But those are sort of the finer details that we can work out. But we do acknowledge and recognize, of course, that intellectual property is a key value for these early stage companies and must be protected. The communications can remain open during this. This is a process where it is a process of discovery for us. And that means intensive due diligence as we go through this process. So we do want to have communications with you back and forth. And this is why I'm encouraging you to reach out to our national platform liaisons and or Patricia. And I think the email for our info box is published there. Oh, and Patricia's email as well. So please do reach out, and we can help answer additional questions as they come up.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Emilio. Yes, Nelly, would you like to go next? Nelly, I see that you're unmuted, but I can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, is it open for private companies that are registered as limited companies?
Yes, it is open for private companies as a partner to an NGO.
Oh, so you have to have a partnership with an NGO?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Yep. All right. Okay, so Gideon, would you like to ask your question? And maybe just a brief one-sentence introduction.
Hi, good morning, Robin, Patricia. This is Gideon Blau with Clean Tech Hub in Colombia. We have a question with regards to the impact metrics. With regards to the impact metrics, of course, it's a mixture between climate and social impact metrics. Would you like us to follow a certain framework or narrative around this, like IRIS, or you want us to be also go into more detail if these metrics are validated within the current business model or going forward to be validated? And then with regards to the scalable unit, do you want us to identify one single metric that is going to be scaled, or can this be a number of metrics?
Yeah, so definitely, we do want to see a methodology such as IRIS through GEN, an acknowledged methodology for impact, and we do prefer IRIS. The impact metrics can be specific to the partnership and the sector that the partnership is in. We do have in our guidelines a few published metrics that we do want to see some impacts in, so you can look to that, but it's fairly high level. And acknowledging that we work across multiple sectors, it really comes down to the impact metrics that are related to your business model. But we do want to see, and it's an excellent question, Gideon, thank you. We do want to see an acknowledged, globally acknowledged methodology such as IRIS produced by Jen.
Thanks, Robin.
Yes, Nam, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so good evening from Vietnam. So nice to talk with you. So may I have the question, the same question from the UN reason mainly. So we are the profit company, but we are a startup. We are still working on with a lot of developing partner like UNDP or ADB in Vietnam. So my question is on inbox that we are profit for profit company, but we work mainly in the development sector. We are the impact sustainable impact business. So should we can apply for the support from this? Thank you.
Yes, thanks for the question, Nam. And yes, you may apply. You need to have your NGO partner before you apply. So you need to be partnered up and at least be able to submit a draft partner agreement. It does not have to be legally binding. And we have provided a partnership charter format to serve as a guideline for what we're looking for in a partnership agreement between the NGO administrative partner and the for-profit climate business partner.
Okay, thank you. So may I have the quick follow-up question? Is the NGO is a local NGO or international NGO? Or both?
So it can be an international NGO that has a local office, or it can be a local NGO that has robust grant management processes, because we do a due diligence of the NGO to ensure that they can responsibly administer the grant.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And to complement this last question, because I saw it in the chat in this Q&A, is that this NGO or civil society needs to be registered if it's not registered in the country, it needs to be partnered with someone that is registered in the country. And the kind of eligible NGO civil societies that are, you can see it in the appendix in the guidelines. So there are specific like restrictions or no of what we consider as civil society or NGO.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Arega, would you like to go next? Arega Adame, it looks like you're still on mute. We cannot hear you. Okay, well, Arega, while you're working that out, why don't we go with Lamek? And I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Lamek Burundu. If you'd like to ask your question with a brief introduction. Okay, again, we seem to be running into some unmuting challenges. Hopefully we can come back to you, Lamek, but yeah, Richard, would you like to go next? I wonder, Richard's unable to unmute. All right, Martin, are you able to unmute? Okay, great. You unmuted. Would you like to ask your question?
Hello, and thank you for organizing this. It's wonderful to see early phase startup funding possibilities for my company, Material Mediation. I'm wondering with the measuring of data and statistics and correlation of data and statistics around SDGs and ESGs and the carbon emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, and where I am with my company and its ability to capture earth energy and waste and convert it to healthy soil. Would you be able to recommend a company that is closely related to P4G to provide the analytical metrics and reporting for material mediation to finalize the presentation in regards to becoming more qualified, I suppose, to meet the criteria for the grant application?
Yeah, Martin, thanks for that question. I think it's difficult to answer without understanding more specifics about your business. So I think I grasp the basics. And so what I would recommend is actually that you reach out to our National Platform Liaison or directly to Patricia after this call. And then they can help if you can provide, and I'd encourage each of you to do this when you reach out to our National Platform Liaison or to Patricia, provide a paragraph summary, or if you have a one-page teaser that you can attach to your email so that they have a picture, at least a snapshot of both the venture that you have as well as the question or questions that you have ahead of time, and that will enable that dialogue with them to be more streamlined.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, I was unmuted. So my question is a topic, yeah? So climate is of course very wide, yeah? And I understand all the adaptation and mitigation issues. But what about circular economy? I mean, plastic flying around in the seas, in the rivers, blocking drainage systems and so on. And then also having a secondary purpose. Let's say the CO2 link is not as strong as planting trees, but is it still a relevant topic for you guys, or better not to touch it or discuss it with your focal point in Kenya?
Yeah, excellent question. So in phase 1, we did fund partnerships in plastics reduction. In this current call, we are not targeting plastics and circular economy, except as applicable to food or water systems, water resilience. So the plastics reduction is not an issue that we are directly addressing in this call for partnerships. We understand.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Good question, thank you. Camilo, go ahead.
Hi, Robin. Hi, Patricia. I have a lot of questions in the chat. Sorry for being so intense, but my main question is about the cost share, because actually we wanted to apply in the previous round of P4G, but still we have this question about regarding how we can present this cost share for different, especially for our commercial partner, because they have a huge infrastructure installed, but this infrastructure installed is necessary for a technological solution for energy savings. So we wonder if this capex infrastructure can be present as a cost share for this round of P4G.
Yeah,
And the other one, sorry, and the other question that I have is regarding about the participation of women in the staff or in the project developing implementers. So can you explain me a little bit more detail, because I reviewed that in the guidebook, but it's not so clear for me for that. That's it. Thank you, Patricia.
Yeah.
Well, I can well, I already respond that, Camilo, in the chat. So there is a specific criteria for the co-share, where the 30% of the total project needs to be provided by the partnership, and the 70% by the is by P4G with the specific restrictions, and how you consider what are the expenses that are eligible as co-share is also described there. An important difference is that in this goal, we can allow the salaries of the, not only for the administrative partner, also for the early stage climate business, with that are the salaries that are specific related with the implementation of this project, that are direct, that has a direct impact with the goal expected and the outcome expected, you know? So we are not paying the payroll in any circumstance, but we are paying for the specific hours of the people that you required for this, to ensure the implementation of this project. So it's important that you can read carefully the guidelines and those specific parts. There is one criteria that is this budget that indicates how they can be provided this co-share. Also, we have different tables in the appendix that would describe this eligibility. And if you have any other question, just send me an email and we can have a further conversation.
Thank you so much. No, this is something that we have, as I said before, it's a question that we have bring from the previous call. But now that you mentioned that, it's a little bit more clear, but we have a lot of different questions regarding that, but I will send you an email with more specific questions. Thank you, Patricia. And the other question about the gender participation, especially women, it will be also important for us. Thank you so much.
Razia, go ahead. Razia, can you unmute? We're unable to hear you.
Okay, hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you, Patricia and Robin, for the very insightful information. My question is concerning the 30% contribution. Does an NGO or an NGO's initial investment on the seed in terms of providing a pilot, in terms of the infrastructure, the funding and the equipment, does that count for the 30% that an NGO is supposed to contribute before getting the grant? That is one question. And another question is, in terms of, does clean energy, does charcoal produced from plants contribute to clean energy? And can somebody ask for money in terms of can somebody apply for a grant in terms of providing clean energy? Because we produce clean energy solutions by creating charcoal that is environmentally friendly. And then that's a second question. And then finally, in terms of this partnership, because you say that we have to work with countries that are where you are working, does that project have to be only done in that particular country, or it can also filter into the other country? It can, does that also apply? For example, it's Kenya is the host country in East Africa, and my project is in Uganda. Can I partner with a Kenyan organization and then work with them to pilot that project in Kenya, but also increase or do something more on where the product is being produced in Uganda? Thank you.
Well, is something important is that first you can is this a stage of the project that we're considering. No, so if you're for that is when we are talking about the seed and post-seed stage, is that your project is already proved. And so to understand this pilot is important, is like very tricky, where is already, you have only the idea or is already a concept that has been proved. And about the country implementation, yes, could be a project that even can be implemented in one or more countries. The funding of P4G can be only used for the P4G ODA countries. So that in this case will be the P4G funding will be only used for Kenya.
Okay. Okay, the funding, the product is already in production. The charcoal is already in production. Yeah.
Perfect.
So does that qualify for the clean energy solution that somebody can also apply for? And also talk about my 30% also contribution.
Yeah, the 30%, which was the question of your 30% contribution?
Does the initial seed in terms of the charcoal is already in production, and there is also a factory that has already been set, that is already working. So that contribution, when a partner comes in to ask for grants, does that, the initial investment to produce that product that will be piloted in another country, does that count for the 30%? Or we also need to add 30% more as part of the, before we get the grant?
Yeah, no, it's 30 is additional resources that you need to contribute during the implementation of the project. So when you submit, so first for the concept note, you will submit only a summary of your business plan that is saying by items, with like how much you will contribute for the P4, we suspected the 70% of the P4G and the cost share, but it's additional resources that is for this implementation. And if you are shortlisted, that you will submit the full documentation and the full proposal. You can see already in the webpage this template of the full work plan and budget. When in the first slide you see, when the first sheet you see the different. The work plan is the goal, the expected long-term goal, the short-term goal during implementation, the expected outcomes. And in the next sheet are the detailed budget where you see by month. So as I was mentioning, it's important that you start your budget from January 2024 and by month, but with a specific activity that is expected to do during the implementation, how much of those will be by P4G funding and how much of those will be for cost share. And to know what are the eligible cost share, it's important to review the appendix that are in the guidelines, and you will be able to fill the information in the work plan and budget. That document of the detailed work plan and budget is for the one that you will have 4 weeks to submit, and it's only for those shortlisted applicants. But it's important that you get familiar with the specific formats. So the templates are already in the webpage. If you don't find something, just send me an email.
And does charcoal contribute to clean energy?
I think that one we should take offline and look at the specifics of your project. Thanks for the questions, Alia. Yeah, Guillermo, over to you.
Hello, Robin, Patricia. Thank you very much. I'm part of Inversor, a non-profit impact asset manager in Colombia. So I just had a specific question regarding one of the company that we think would be eligible for this program. And it focuses on the management of waste electronic and electrical equipment. So if you take a look at the application, it is not like a specific in the subsectors, but I was wondering if it would be eligible as it has a substantial impact and environmental impact. So just would like to have your thoughts on that, if we would be eligible or not for this company. That's my question.
We have not typically funded electronic waste reduction. I absolutely recognize that it's a big issue, and it is a big issue in the clean energy transition, how to deal with the subsequent electronic waste or associated waste that's generated. So I think maybe that's another thing that we should take on offline. One of the things I will say is it's very important for our partnerships to be aligned with the national priorities of our countries. And if you recall early in the presentation, we had the slide with the 3 groups of stakeholders that P4G works with. National platforms are essential. And each of our partnerships really needs to be aligned with the national priorities of that country, so that within the national platform, there is a lot of learning going on at the government level as well about these different clean tech sectors. So that's where we want to see exactly how well aligned each proposal is to the national priorities.
Okay, thank you so much, Robin.
Alphonse, over to you.
Hello, my name is Alphonse, and we have an organization, a company to be precise, that deals with e-mobility, which I believe should fall within the desired criteria for this call proposal. My question is, the NGO that we are supposed to have a partnership, first of all, is it necessary? Why is it necessary? Because we don't foresee ourselves having any NGO, and the one that we might think of is far much well established, and we fear that in that kind of arrangement that we might have with them, they might bully the organization. That is our fear. Ours is a private company limited with shares, and we deal with the e-mobility, and our target right now is more on mobility in motors. Yeah. So that's our fear.
Yeah. Thanks, Alphonse. Yeah, so a partnership with an NGO is required. And if you review slide 9 in the slides, and all of this is either posted now or about to be posted on our website, you'll see the different roles that the NGO can play. We certainly would only want to see you partnering with an NGO with whom you think you could have a really productive, positive relationship that would benefit your business case, whether it is validating the impact results that you're having, or reaching in and doing some sort of knowledge management activity for the partnership as required, or providing technical assistance on your business plan and financials, depending on the type of NGO. Those are the roles that we typically see. And it is mandatory to have that partner. One of the things we see with many early stage businesses operating in this tricky environment of both developing country investment, which many climate finance investors find challenging, as well as investing in early stage businesses, which are inherently more risky. We do see that a network of partners is really a key aspect, a key feature of what successful early stage businesses have had in order to get to that Series A close and their growth stage. So please refer to slide 9 and also look at the guidelines where we also describe the typical roles of an NGO.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
You will get the access to the PowerPoint presentation in this week and also for today's record on the website.
Thanks.
Hi there. Thank you very much. Thank you for arranging the session. My name's Owen. I'm from South Africa. I'm involved in a project repurposing coal mines through economic diversification and in support of a just transition. And one of the key sort of learnings that we've taken out of a pre-feasibility phase is that no single economic diversification option is strong enough on its own. And so we're looking at packaging a whole bunch of different businesses together. Now, some of those are far more proven than others and probably then more suited. But for a project like this, I mean, would we then put forward just one of the economic diversification options that is far more proven, or put that within the context of a bigger project that's happening? And would the bigger project almost preclude it because, you know, while one can run on its own and be sustainable, it's not commercially sustainable and scale. It alone isn't perhaps strong enough for the greater vision.
Yeah, and so that's exactly why we encourage, you know, partnerships that have multiple partners, because often it takes multiple players to address some of these challenging areas. I think for your partnership, we need to understand a little bit more about what you're doing, because we do have certain prohibited activities, and working in fossil fuels is one of them. However, I did hear that you were talking about coal mine repurposing. So maybe there is maybe there is something there that we could be working on. I would encourage you to reach out to Shakira Akbar, our national platform liaison for South Africa, and just have a quick conversation with her to discuss the specifics of your idea and then maybe some more detailed questions that you might have.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And with that, we have reached the end of our webinar. I hope everyone was able to at least type in their question, if not actually ask it. And we have been trying to respond to those questions live, and we will continue to do so and post this webinar on our website along with the slides and any additional answers. So I want to give a huge thanks to our funders of P4G, the Netherlands, Denmark, and South Korea have been huge partners to us in developing this value proposition and bringing this offering to you, our prospective applicants. So we're really looking forward to seeing your applications and talking with you going forward. So best of luck to everyone, and thank you so much. Bye-bye.